Historically great fighter.
Good for you.
The only fighter to win 8 world titles. I mean, Skip, he started out boxing, he was 106 pounds, won a title at, I think, 112, and went all the way up to
108 first.
Went all the way up to 154.
It's impossible. It's just...
I don't believe, I feel very comfortable and said I don't believe we'll ever see that again, Skip.
We'll never see it again.
And it wasn't like he was fighting bums. When you go back and look at Marco Antonio Barrera and Eric Morales and Oscar Larios and De La Hoya and Hatton and Cotto, Margarita, Mosley, Timothy Bradley, Mayweather, Skip. I mean, what do you got to say? He was a champion in 4 different decades.
Yep.
Fighter of the year. First ballot Hall of Fame. He's great. He fought everybody. Whenever. The only thing that I hate is that he and Mayweather didn't get together 5 years sooner. That's all I hate, Skip. That's all I hate. Other than that, I can find nothing.
That's my biggest regret all time as a boxing fan.
I can find nothing, and you can put him up there with anybody, from Armstrong to Willie Pep, any of the greats you want us mentioned. You got to mention Manny Pacquiao.
You know, I have long been a much bigger Pacquiao fan than you have been because we got divided over Mayweather Pacquiao, so you had to go with your guy, and I had to stick with mine. And yet, what I've always loved so much about Manny Pacquiao, why I gravitated to him from the start, was he fought.
Yes.
He fought anybody, anytime, any place. He wasn't calculated about it. He just fought because that's what he was. He was a fighter by nature. He grew up I'm talking dirt poor in the Philippines as just a street urchin, just scratching and clawing for literally his next meal.
Correct.
He fought literally to eat, to stay alive.
Correct.
And he's not proud of some of the things he did because he was, it was a rough upbringing.
Right.
But he did have what I believe was a legit spiritual conversion. And this man is a good man. In fact, he's seen as a great man in the Philippines to the point that that little street urchin, that little tiny guy, is running for president. And I don't know his chances because I don't know Filipino politics.
Well, let's just hope Duarte doesn't do anything. I guess he's like, well, I'm going to be the vice president because normally you have term limits, but...
Okay. So the point is that it came down to Manny versus your man. And your man, Money Mayweather, was the greatest defensive fighter ever, and it ain't even close. He was all duck and dodge. Nobody could duck and dodge the way Floyd could. And yet it was all offense on Manny's part because he just went at everybody as hard as he could go at him. He wasn't a poor defensive fighter. He just was built for offense. He was on the attack.
And it cost him against Juan Marquez.
Okay, but that was the 4th time he had to fight him. He's like, I'm trying to fight anybody. Okay, I'll fight him again. 4 times I'm going to fight him.
But the thing was, Skip, he's winning the fight. I mean, he's dominating the fight. And then Marquez timed him.
It's the end of the 6th round. And I just think he got a little bored because he'd beaten him 3 times. And all of a sudden, he's sleepwalking and then he's out cold. Right? Okay, so that happened, and there were some other glitches along the way. But that one night in May in Las Vegas, I just, even at their advanced ages, I wanted to see them fight. And you know what I believe? That Manny somehow tore his rotator cuff
in the lead up
sparring about 3 weeks out, according to the great Freddie Roach, who I know. And well, all I know is that Manny had to have surgery the day after the fight. So I believe he was handicapped in that fight. I still believe he won the fight because he pressed the action. And yet, Floyd is great, but Floyd is calculated. He carefully chose each opponent. And Manny's just like reckless, like, oh, you want to fight? Let's fight. I'll fight you. He fought Keith Thurman. Ernestine and I were there at ringside in Las Vegas. He was almost 41 years of age. And he flat beat Keith Thurman fair and square. Trust me, he won that fight. It was legit. And then he wanted Spence Jr., as you know, and he winds up 11 days out with a different opponent who was just better than he was. And Manny said, I didn't have time to prep. Manny is high IQ, and he hadn't figured out a way.